Okay, I'm still looking. Thank you. How you doing?
You okay? Good, how are you?
Good. I know it.
Is that you?
Yeah, I think we are.
Meeting will
You're
please
ready?
come to order. This is the duly advertised meeting of the Joliet Zoning Board of Appeals. In our capacity, we hear petitions for relief from the strict provisions of our city ordinance. In matters of this type, the decision of this board is final. In respect, it does not go to the mayor or the city council for any further action. If you disagree with our decision, you do have recourse in the court of record. We also hear petitions for variations of land use. In matters of this type, we act as an advisory committee to the mayor and city council, making a recommendation either for or against. Final decision on land use is made by the mayor and the city council. Secretary, call the roll, please.
Mr. Alessio,
Here.
Mr. McShane,
Here.
Mr. Knocktree,
Here.
Mr. Riggs,
Here.
Ms. Rohr, Mr. Hennessy.
Here.
With that, we can move on to approval of minutes of the December 16th zoning board meeting.
I move we approve.
Second.
We have a second to approve the minutes, pull the board.
Mr. McShane,
Okay.
Mr. Knocktree,
Aye.
Mr. Riggs,
Aye.
Ms. Rohr, Mr. Alessio,
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy.
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is citizens to be heard on agenda items. This section is for anyone wanting to speak regarding items listed on the agenda. Anyone speaking on an agenda item is entitled to speak for a maximum of 4 minutes. It is not a question and answer period, and staff and the Zoning Board of Appeals does not generally respond to public comments. Please note, speakers who engage in conduct injurious to the harmony of the Zoning Board of Appeals shall be called to order by the presiding officer and may forfeit their opportunity to speak. Is there anyone that would like to speak on an agenda item? And please be aware you can speak when that is called as well. But you are able to speak now for 4 minutes if you choose. Seeing none, moving on. Oh, sure.
I know you're going to be talking about Robert Hernandez, 809 Westminster Road, Joliet, Illinois.
I swear you hadn't. You swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law.
Yes,
Name and address, please.
I just gave that to you. Robert Hernandez, 809 Westminster Road,
Okay.
Chair,
go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman. So in any case, I know one of the agenda items is going to be the discussion of the possibly making the old Brick Street YMCA a homeless shelter. And I've been very vocal in the community opposing any more shelters of that type in the city of Joliet, but particularly on the east side because they have sheltered already 2 homeless shelters and several social services. And no other part of the city has done that. And as you know, or at least our chairman knows, because he's been on for many, many years, that anything that's presented in the cathedral area or other parts of the west side is shut down without hesitation. It's not, it's always not approved on this level, and then when it goes before the city council, they agree with your findings. So I ask this board to respect the east side as they have the west side in turning down those types of developments. When they tried to put a drug rehab back in the 90s, I remember the city manager saying, no way. And this board turned it down, and it went before the city council where it was turned down as well. And that was in the cathedral area. I want to see the same respect for the east side of Joliet. The residents of that area are opposed to it, and we have seen that our east side has time and time and time again, everything is put there. Again, 2 homeless shelters, every social service you can imagine, and it's time that other communities share in that burden. The county executive, she lives in Sherwood, that would be a good place to put it, or in another surrounding community, because they are going to receive COVID funds in order to buy the Brick Street or whatever facility they end up buying for a homeless shelter. Thank you.
Thank you. I would also ask that when this comes up on the board, that if there are many speakers, that for the sake of propriety and everything else, that if your concerns or your objections have been stated, please try not to come up and repeat the same things over and over again. You all are entitled to 4 minutes to speak to the board, but keep that in mind if you would, please. Thank you. Let's go.
Wait.
Anyone else? I'm gonna swear you in. Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Your name and address, please.
My name is Mary White, and I live on 112 3rd Avenue here in Joliet, Illinois. And I come speaking on behalf of Morningstar Mission and the endeavor that they are trying to do on Briggs Street. I live on the east side, and I believe that allowing them to go forward would be a good thing, because people need a place to be, people need a place to grow, and that particular place is a good place to do that. Morningstar is supported by so many entities here in this community. And so I used to be homeless. I went through Morningstar Mission. Right now, I have a master's degree in social work, working on my doctorate in ministry, and fruitfulness comes out of Morningstar. And people are rejected, but Morningstar wants to take them in. The East Side is not opposed. Some of the East Side is not opposed to the old Briggs YMCA being a shelter, a daycare, to help the homeless and those who are in need. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Your name and address, please.
My name is Elamin Abdel Hakim Falak. I live at 502 South Plain Street. With the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, I would first like to greet everyone with the greetings of peace be with you, because we all seek peace. Some of us, though, are hostile, inconsiderate, and selfish, because we want peace, and we cannot find it. So what did I say? I certainly agree that the proposal of the Morningstar Mission to convert the former YMCA facility to a daycare center, after-school care center, summer day camp center, and permanent supportive housing for the homeless may not be the best use for that facility and location. It is the same, though, as when the Morningstar Mission wanted to convert the Quality Inn into a homeless center. And you determined that not to be a good choice. Or when the old Civil Cross Hospital building was torn down rather than be converted into a homeless center, homeless shelter for the veterans. Joliet's homeless population continues, and Joliet's response has been to remove the benches from the downtown bus stops just to keep the homeless from sleeping or just resting there. If Joliet is not willing to do anything to help the homeless, then it should allow those who are willing to help the homeless do what they are willing to do. The proposal of the Morningstar Mission may not be the best use of that facility in terms of a political agenda, but it is certainly the best use of that facility in terms of humanity. Sometimes you must stop being hostile, inconsiderate, and selfish, and put humanity above politics. Now, you may see yourself above the current homeless at this time. And you may have a job, you may have a pension, you may have money in the bank. So I will close out by reminding you of hundreds of people who had what you have, and they lost it through no fault of their own. An example is Enron. I was in Texas at the time, in Houston. There were thousands of people working there who had good income. They had pensions. They had money in the bank. But when Enron failed, they lost their good income. They lost their pensions. They exhausted their funds in the bank, and many of them were not able to continue paying the mortgage on their homes, and they ended up homeless. So think about that, and choose not to be hostile, inconsiderate, and selfish, because the degree of society, civilization, is measured by how it treats its weakest members. You are not determining the use of a facility. You are determining the measure of your own civilization, your own humanity. Do not let that measure be hostile, inconsiderate, and selfish. Peace be with you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, let's proceed with the regular agenda.
Moving
When
on,
the speakers come up, who's timing the 4 minutes? Do we have someone?
we'll try to monitor, but we don't have an exact timer like the city council does. So I think, just those, citizens to be heard are subject to 4 minutes. I don't think there's a time period for
Okay.
speakers on agenda items.
Let's go.
Under old business, we have none. Under new business, I would like to bring petition 2022-07 up. This has been requested. This is a special use permit to allow a truck and trailer repair with truck parking operation. And this is the Northeast Frontage Road site. The petitioner is experiencing health problems. They've asked for this to be tabled. They cannot be here today. So if there's anybody in attendance just for that particular petition, I'd like to bring it up now and ask that you table this. Staff is supporting tabling of this request to the February meeting.
The motion would be in order to table petition 2022-07 to the next meeting.
Motion to table.
Second.
Pull the board.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr? Aye. Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Nachtrieb?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye.
Next agenda item is 2022-01. The applicant owner is Kathleen Colross. Location is 611 Campbell Street. The request is for a variation. Under purpose, the applicant is requesting a variation to reduce the side yard setback from 8 feet to 6 feet 3 inches to allow construction of a one-story rear addition and covered front entry. The Zoning Board of Appeals makes the final decision on this request. Under site-specific information, the subject property is approximately 13,055 square feet in size and is zoned R2 single-family residential. The circa 1910 Tudor Revival style house is 2 1/2 stories in height and cement stucco sided. Property was designated as a local historic landmark in 2007. The property also includes a large detached garage. Under surrounding zoning, land use, and character, the property is located in the Upper Bluff National Register Historic District, among other older single-family homes. Adjacent properties and majority of the properties in this vicinity are zoned R2 single-family residential. Under applicable regulations, Section 47-6.4, R2 single-family residential yard and lot requirements, and Section 47-19.8, criteria for granting a variation, and you could refer to the attachment on that. Under discussion, the applicant seeks to erect 2 small one-story additions to the rear of the home to create direct access to the rear yard, enlarge the kitchen, and create a mudroom. Proposal also includes erecting a roof over the main entrance of the home. The 2 rear additions, rear covered porch and covered front entry, would expand the building footprint by 200.93 square feet. Existing house sits 6 feet 3 inches from the west property line, and for this reason does not comply with the 8-foot side yard setback requirement for the R2 zoning district. The zoning ordinance allows pre-existing nonconformities to remain as long as the structures are not enlarged or altered in a way that increases their nonconformity. Therefore, the applicant must obtain a variance because the structure's pre-existing nonconformities will be increased by the construction of the west rear addition and covered front entry. Floor plans and building elevations for the proposed project are included in the staff report packet. Should the zoning board approve the variation request, the property owner will then need to receive a certificate of appropriateness from the Historic Preservation Commission for the proposed projects, since the project is a local historic landmark. A certificate of appropriateness is required prior to the city issuing a building permit for the proposed projects. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to approve the variation request, the following conditions would be included. Just have one, that a building permit shall be obtained prior to construction, and that concludes our staff report.
Petitioner present. Want to come forward, please? Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Name and address, please.
Katie Koros, Kathleen Koros, 611 Campbell Street.
Any comments you'd like to make?
No, this is for a kitchen renovation that I want to do.
Any questions by the board? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Is there anyone opposed? Chair closes petition floor and asks the board for discussion and a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the petition. Poll the board.
Mr. Noctree,
Aye.
Mr. Riggs,
Aye.
Ms. Rohr,
Aye.
Mr. Alessio,
Aye.
Mr. McShane,
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy.
Aye.
Next agenda item is 2022-02. The applicant is Erkenjan Esanoff and Amber Solutions Corporation. Status of the applicant is the contract purchaser. The owner is the Glasscock Family Trust. Location is 198 West Laraway Road, and the request is for a special use permit. Under purpose, the petitioner is requesting a special use permit to allow a trucking facility with truck parking, office, sales, and maintenance operations. As per the zoning ordinance, section 4713.2A, special uses, general business zoning district, carting, express hauling establishments, as well as truck sales and truck maintenance establishments may be allowed as special uses by the mayor and city council with the advice of the zoning board of appeals in accordance with section 47-15.2. Under site-specific information, the 4.85 acre subject property was annexed and classified to B3 General Business Zoning District in 2013. Glasscock Farms operated a commercial farm stand at this location for decades until closing in 2015. Property currently includes 4 agricultural outbuildings and 1 residence. All will be demolished with the proposed plan for this property. This petition was filed on December 17th, 2021. Under surrounding zoning, land use, and character, to the north is undeveloped B3, to the south is undeveloped B3, to the east is gas station B3, and to the west is undeveloped I1. Under applicable regulations, section 47-13.2A, special uses, general business districts, and section 47-5.2C, criteria for issuance of a special use permit, and you could see the attachment on that. Under discussion, the approval of the requested special use permit would allow a trucking facility with truck parking, office, sales, and maintenance operations at the former Glasscock Farms property. Proposed plan, and you can see the attachments, includes a new 15,900 square foot building with 4 truck service bays, 2 bay truck loading dock, and office space. The 4,365 square foot office area will include 2 reception areas, offices for sales staff, fleet staff and mechanic staff, and break rooms. Company anticipates employing 40 people at this location, 20 of which will be office staff. Site plan proposal shows 27 vehicle parking spaces, 62 truck trailer parking spaces, and stormwater detention area. Truck and trailer sales will utilize the 23 truck trailer spaces located along Laraway Road. A 30-foot wide berm and landscaping will be installed along Laraway Road, and 15-foot wide of landscaping along Stone City Drive to comply with the city landscape ordinance. Northern access to the property will be aligned with the future intersection at Laraway Road and Marcella Avenue, and eastern access off of Stone City Drive will be aligned with the private drive to the Route 66 food and fuel gas station. All public improvements will be required by the Public Works and Utilities Department per the city's zoning ordinance and the city's subdivision regulations. And anticipated public improvements include escrow funding for a quarter of a traffic light for the future Marcella Avenue and Laraway Road intersection, installation of curb and gutter and lighting along Laraway Road and Stone City Drive, and escrow funding for half of future 3-lane road improvements, matching the improved section, 1.5 lanes total. Sewer and water connection fees and developer impact fees will be required, a payment in lieu of taxes. The pilot fee will also be required as per the terms of the approved ordinance. Funds collected from the pilot will be utilized for adjacent city street maintenance. Under condition, if the zoning board desires to approve the special use permit, following conditions would be included. One, that the truck and trailer parking area shall be required to make a payment in lieu of taxes as per the terms of the ordinance. Two, that a landscape plan shall be submitted as part of the building permit plan set that meets city ordinance. And should the property be declared a public nuisance, it should be subject to a rehearing and possible revocation of the special use permit. And that concludes our staff report.
Petitioner present? You swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law.
I do.
Name and address?
My name is Jonathan Shalangi. My address is 6350 West 124th Street in Palos Heights, Illinois. I represent the petitioner, Amber Solutions, and Erkinjon Esenov. And I have with me today the contract purchaser of the property and owner of the company, Mr. Esenov, Anton Churkin, also from Amber Solutions. Chuck Smith, the architect of the project, who did the site plan, floor plan, and building elevations, and Matthew Ridoff, the realtor for the seller, Glasscock Family Trust. The staff report includes a pretty thorough summary of the project. My clients would be developing what's essentially a vacant property and bringing it into the current usages of the area, investing in a brand new 16,000 square foot building to support its truck and trailer repairs, semi-truck sales, and office operations. As I mentioned in the special use application, this would bring in additional approximately 20 jobs to the city of Joliet, split between the repair and sales operations, including mechanics and sales, representatives, accounting and financial, people, and customer service. The repairs will be primarily open to customers. Amber Solutions also maintains its own small fleet of approximately 20 trucks. The parking on the lot is primarily for repairs for customers' trucks and trailers, in addition to the dedicated spaces along Laraway for the sales operations, along with employee parking. The types of repairs will be mainly regular repairs and maintenance, including oil changes, suspension and brake work, transmission and clutch repairs, and some engine work. In addition to the employment the project will bring, it'll generate sales and property tax revenue for the city and not adversely affect the other properties in the immediate area, which are the Route 66 food and gas station to the east and the otherwise undeveloped properties to the north, south, and west. The project, as the site report, the staff reports shows, will include landscaping and other improvements. As for traffic impacts, the property is accessed by Laraway, both Laraway and Stone City Drive, and a traffic light is anticipated at Laraway and the future extension of Marcel Avenue, along with the widening and additional lanes to be added to Laraway. We would respectfully request that the board members grant our petition, and I'm happy to answer any questions, as are these gentlemen that are with me today.
Thank you. Any questions by the board? Comments? Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor? Anyone opposed? Chair closes the petition and asks the board for discussion and a motion.
I move we approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Poll the board.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Nachtrieb?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I do actually have one question about the public nuisance provision. Can someone define that, what that process would involve? There's a condition on there that states.
Yeah, we can talk to you more about that.
Okay.
Jane, if you want to get with Jane,
Sounds good.
she could tell you.
Thank you.
Talk to him now, or? Petition number 2022-03. The applicant is Morningstar Mission Ministries Incorporated, and they're also the owner of the property is listed. The location is 1350 South Briggs Street. Request is special use permits. Under purpose, Morningstar Mission Ministries, the applicant and property owner is requesting special use permits to allow a daycare center, after-school care center, and summer day camp center, as well as permanent supportive housing at the former YMCA facility located at 1350 South Briggs Street. City Council makes a final decision on the special use permit request for permanent supportive housing. The Zoning Board of Appeals makes a final decision on the special use permit request for daycare center, aftercare center, and summer day camp center. This petition was filed on December 17th, 2021. Under site-specific information, the existing facility opened in 1978 and operated as the Smith Family YMCA until March 2021. The facility currently has a large gymnasium, large swimming pool, handball courts, multi-purpose rooms, locker rooms, and bathrooms and office space. The facility sits on a 26.510 acre lot that includes a paved parking lot with 100 parking spaces and recreational land to the rear. The site has two entrances onto Briggs Street. The property is zoned RB restricted business. Under surrounding zoning, land use, and character, to the north is unincorporated Will County agricultural land. To the south is R2 single-family residential, St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church. To the east is R-1B single-family residential agricultural land. To the west is unincorporated Will County, and that's residential use. Under applicable regulations, section 47.5.2, special uses, public or private kindergartens, daycare centers. Under section 47-15B, nursing homes, sheltered care homes, homes for the aged, and sanitariums. Under section 47-15B3, criteria for issuance of a special use permit for a nursing home, sheltered care home, home for the aged, and sanitariums, and those conditions to meet those criteria are below. Under discussion, Morningstar Mission Ministries, the property owner seeks to convert the former Smith Family YMCA into a youth center that would offer daycare, after-school care, and summer day camp services. Joliet zoning ordinance requires a special use permit for these proposed uses. Morningstar also seeks to convert a portion of the facility, the former pool area, to accommodate 10 permanent supportive housing units. Permanent supportive housing is a longer-term, 1 to 2 year housing option that offers access to supportive services as opposed to emergency shelter. Zoning ordinance considers the proposed permanent supportive housing use as a sheltered care home because it is in a facility wherein maintenance, personal care, or sheltered care is provided to an individual. Joliet zoning ordinance requires a specific special use permit for a sheltered care home. Additional special use permit criterion for sheltered care facilities are noted above A through E. Morningstar's rationale for opening a youth center and permanent supportive housing facility at this location is included as an attachment to this staff report. Proposed daycare center will be in partnership with Catholic Charities Head Start program. The proposed after-school and summer camp programs will be in partnership with the YMCA. Morningstar will be working with agencies like Catholic Charities, Daybreak Center, Will County Center for Community Concerns, and Trinity Services to house people in the 10 units of permanent supportive housing. Morningstar has indicated that proof of employment will be a requirement for living in one of the units. Case managers will facilitate supportive services for the 10 residents. Morningstar currently operates an emergency shelter, transitional and permanent supportive housing for men, women, and children at 350 East Washington Street and 360 through 368 East Washington Street, as well as a few off-site locations. Conceptual floor plan of the proposed conversion of the former YMCA, as well as the plan, are included as attachments. There will be no interior cross-access between the youth center facility and the permanent supportive housing facility. The proposed plan includes large multi-purpose room, which is the former gymnasium, 4 daycare rooms, new bathroom facilities, commercial kitchen to prepare meals to serve the youth programs, new office spaces, and 10 permanent supportive housing units where the former swimming pool area was. Each of the 10 housing units will have its own kitchenette and washer and dryer. Under conditions, should the Zoning Board of Appeals desire to approve the special use permit request to allow a daycare center, after-school care center, and summer day camp center, the staff recommends the following conditions of approval be included. 1, a designated outdoor play area for children accommodating 25% of the center's licensed capacity shall be created at an on-site location approved by staff prior to a certificate of occupancy being issued. 2, that the existing parking lot shall be maintained. 3, that failure to comply with any of the above conditions could result in a rehearing and a possible revocation of the special use permit. 4, that a special use permit shall be subject to review and revocation if activities of the occupants on premises or in the adjacent neighborhood create a public nuisance, result in an unreasonable number or nature of calls for service, or if the premises violate city, state, or federal laws. 5, should the property be declared a public nuisance, it shall be subject to a rehearing and possible revocation of the special use permit. And 6, that the special use granted shall herein terminate and lapse unless a building permit or certificate of occupancy is obtained no later than 180 days of the effective date of this ordinance, and the erection or alteration of the building is started or the use is commenced within such period. The board may grant an extension of this period valid for no more than 180 additional days upon written application and good cause shown without notice or hearing. Whether or not there is an intention to abandon the special use, if any special use is discontinued for a continuous period of 1 year, or if an intent to abandon the special use is evident in a shorter period of time, the special use for such use shall become void. Such use shall not thereafter be reestablished unless a new special use permit is obtained. In addition to conditions 1 through 6 outlined above, should the Zoning Board of Appeals desire to recommend approval of the special use permit request to allow permanent supportive housing, staff recommends the following conditions of approval also be included. 7, that a residential use or sleeping quarters shall only be permitted in the 10 housing units shown on the submitted conceptual plan and shall not be permitted in any common areas or storage areas. And 8, all people residing at the facility shall undergo intake screening to ensure a safe housing environment. And the identification of each occupant shall be established with reasonable means, including social security number and state of Illinois identification. Occupants shall be required to consent to the release of this information to the Joliet Police Department and other law enforcement agencies if needed. Lastly, under analysis, based on the information that was provided, the administration does not believe the proposal to allow a daycare center, after-school care center, summer day camp center, and permanent supportive housing at the former YMCA facility located at 1350 South Briggs Street for Morningstar mission is the highest and best use for this facility and location. In addition, the need to conduct criminal background checks coordinated with the Joliet Police Department on each proposed occupant would be burdensome on the Joliet Police Department and costly to the city of Joliet taxpayer. And that concludes our staff report.
Petitioner here?
The one thing I'd like to address
I have
is
to
the
swear you
last
in,
part.
ma'am.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, Sandra
Name and
Persy,
address.
350 East Washington Street, Joliet.
Thank you.
I wanted to start with the last part first. Morningstar Mission does their own background checks through the state of Illinois Police, and we pay for that ourselves. And we would be more than happy to comply with that and provide that to the City of Joliet Police Department. We do the intake right now for all of our participants that are in our long-term housing projects. As far as the daycare center, and that it is true that there would not be any cross between them and the participants of the transitional housing. The one thing I wanted to address from one of the speakers earlier is that none of the funding for this is coming from taxpayer dollars or COVID dollars. This is all self-funded or through private funding. And I know that was a question from the city manager, where was our funding coming from? And it is not from any taxpayer. It's not from the county, it's not from the city, not from the state or federal government.
Thank you. That it?
If you've got any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
I have a question. The folks who would occupy the residential rooms are all single individuals, is that
All
correct?
single individuals, yes.
Who can get lonely. How do you propose to keep them away from the other facilities, which are, I assume, for the local people?
Which the other
Well, the
facilities
day,
that we have?
the daycare, the other things adjacent are part of this compound. Those things are not for those 10 people. They are to be separated. But how are you going to keep the lonely people from interacting with the kids?
There's locked doors for, in order to enter the daycare, it's a locked facility, and you have to be buzzed in and out of that, as is the facility for the permanent supportive housing. In order to get in there, they would need to have their own key fob to get in to that facility.
Okay, and those facilities, are they for the local residents of the area around
Just-
Briggs Street?
It would be for any of the people that would be referred from either Catholic Charities, Trinity Services, Cornerstone, Will County Center for Community Concerns. One of those programs that is referring someone to that. The one criteria would be they'd have to have a job. So they have to have some form of income to pay part of their rent. And then they would have to agree to be case managed, not only from the facility referring them, but from our facility as well.
Okay, I'm sorry, I guess I wasn't clear. I meant the daycare and those activities that you...
Those are whoever would like to bring their child to daycare.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
What transportation is gonna be available in that area?
Whatever, they would have to have their own transportation.
So there is no transportation in that area?
No,
In the past, you made a comment that you couldn't move to other communities because there was no transportation. What's the difference of this when there's no community transportation in this area neither?
this is not what we proposed for a different facility. This is a totally different program than what we have proposed for another facility.
But it is still in Joliet on the east side with no transportation for anyone that stays there.
The people that would stay here would have to have their own transportation, they'd have to have their own vehicle.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes. The safe housing environment. Who will be looking over these people that are living there and these young kids? Who is supervising this?
There will be paid staff. Whenever a child is on premises, we will have paid staff on premises whenever a child is on premises.
You said no crossover.
Correct. There will not be any doors, there will be a brick wall between them.
Do you intend in any outdoor activities or any play centers or
Yes.
outside?
For the children, we will have to put in, there's a very small playground right now. But we would have to put in an outdoor play area, and then when it's inclement weather, we would utilize the gymnasium for that.
The question I would have with that then is, I can understand that maybe one of the residents, the permanent housing isn't able to necessarily go into a daycare, but the idea that somebody who's living permanently at the facility is not going to interact with a large amount of children, I mean, that's obviously going to happen. I mean, whether or not it's to the
It'd be the same as going to an apartment building, and somebody living in an apartment building and there being a playground at an apartment building,
Well, it would
it'd
be
be the
like,
same thing.
it's like having a daycare at a place for short-term, 1 to 2 year housing for people who have to be caseworked.
The only reason they're being case managed is because we're ensuring they have, saved their money to afford their apartment at the end of their term. It's not because they're sex offenders or anything, because they wouldn't be allowed to stay there. They're going through a background check. That's the only reason they're being case managed, is so that they're going through budgeting classes and other things to assure that at the end of their time with us, they can afford their apartment.
What are the other things?
Maybe, they might have to go, like, we have, daily Bible studies. So, if they have a full-time job, we would have to have them go to a weekly Bible study as opposed to a daily Bible study. We would have them go to the budgeting classes. One of the other things we'd have them do is probably go to, the city, I think, has, something, city and county both. In order to purchase a home, you have to go through home ownership type classes for a down payment. So we'd have them do that, so that perhaps at the end of their time with us, that could be something in their foreseeable future. So those are the types of classes we'd have them work at.
So my concern is that, you know, within these 10 units, which is not a lot, 10 units though, you know, I'm a mother, and I'm sure that there's some sort of privacy standards, you know, that you have to hold with these people that are gonna be in these 10 units. To me, it seems very problematic that I would let my kid go to a place when I know people are being caseworked. I don't know what they're getting caseworked for. Yes, you say we can trust your background check, but can we? I mean, you know, it's like, what,
Well,
you
they're
leave
the
and then all of a
Illinois
sudden,
State
Bob.
Police through the FBI background check.
Yes, but you know what, you're there now and you're implementing it, but what happens, you know, if you are no longer there and you're no longer in charge, and then, oh, budget cuts, we've decided to now do this type of background check. It's not a
But
safe.
if that's a use, I mean, if that's part of our special use permit, how can we not do it?
Well, just a point of order on that, it does not say where the background checks have to be done
Well, I
in
get
our
that,
special
but
use.
if you're saying it has to be, then we can't not do a background check.
Well, it's not necessarily that it's not done, but who's monitoring that these are actually, you know, I back in the day when I was in college, I used to work in a low-income property complex, right? I'm not gonna lie, it was crappy management. Some of the times, background checks were done, and some of the times, oh, it's coming in, we're gonna let them move in. Now, I'm not saying that's how you run your establishment.
Mm-hmm.
I've just been on the other side of it, where I'm like, should we be doing this? You know, in that case, it was bad management. I think you've done great work at Morningstar thus far, and if it was just the daycare, I'd be the first one in line to say, absolutely, we need daycare right now. All the daycares are shutting down. And the Y on the other side, you know, over on Hobart is like maxed out. Absolutely, these are services that we need for our community. The problem though, for me, is that now I'm having to rely that you, the staple, you know, the person that's in charge now, that it's always gonna be like that. And I don't know if I trust both of the units together forever with that opportunity. You know, the kids go outside for the playground. You know what, this person hasn't committed a sexual crime before, but you know what? They are now. You know, it's like you can't guarantee that. And me personally, I think that's where I'm having a hard time.
Can you guarantee it at a park?
Can you guarantee it at a park, you're saying? Well, no, but if I'm a parent and I'm there and I'm bringing my child to it, I have control over that situation.
I'm just asking the question though.
Yeah, well, I'm giving you, my answer. So if I'm at a park, I'm bringing my child, I have control over that situation. I am in charge. I can see somebody walking up to my child. This, I'm trusting you and your organization to do it. And that's my.
I understand.
That's my.
One of the things that our insurance company mandates is that anybody on our facility has to be background check or at very minimum, run through the state sex offender program, because we can't be insured unless they're run through that, because we have children on our property right now. And that's one of our biggest due diligence, is that we have to do that, to have our insurance, through our insurance company. And we are really big on that, because we do have children on our property. And the last thing I want, or any of our employees want, is an incident to happen, even in our dining room, for something to happen with a child on our property. So I totally get your concern.
And I don't doubt your, that is your want. I don't doubt that at all.
So let me ask this, if that were not the case, that we did not have that, then where would we stand?
I don't know. I'm not gonna talk in hypotheticals. I'm just saying that's the problem that I have with this plan right now.
Anything else? Any other questions? Is there anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor? You've already spoken, ma'am.
Yeah, I think she gets to speak again, and that was under a different,
This is not repetition.
yeah, but this is now that the agenda
Do you have some
topic
new
is
evidence
up.
to present? Do you have some new evidence to, or are you gonna make the same speech? None forward. You've been sworn in, so.
Yeah. What I want to say.
Use the microphone, turn the mic.
What I would like to say, number one, the people who stay in the supportive house, the permanent supportive housing, are people just like you and I. They're not criminals. They're not, low-grade trash, but they are people just like you and I that need a hand up. And what I'm saying is that I know Morningstar. They look after what they're supposed to look after. The children are safe at Morningstar. The women are safe at Morningstar. I'm listening to the feedback and everything, and having been through there, and then having worked there to see how it goes on the inside, having spent time in the dining room where the general public comes in and people come in with their children, I have no doubt that would be a very safe environment for the children who will be separated and all of that. But my main point is the people who would be living there are people just like you and just like me. They are our family members. They are our community members. They are people who are loved and cared for. I want you to keep that in mind and don't not do something because of the 10 people who would be staying there, moving up. I've been homeless. Now I'm a homeowner, live here, been living in my home, been pouring back into this community, paying taxes and all of that for years. And that's what happened as the result when people receive services from Morningstar from years on in. That's what has happened. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in favor? Anyone opposed?
I do have a handout.
I'll swear you in. Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
Name and address.
Margie C. Pond, 1114 Wood Irish Drive, Joliet. Can I just hand them over here?
Sure.
Commissioners?
Thank you.
My name is Margie Seepon again. Good afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners. I grew up on 1425 Spencer Road on the corner of Briggs and Spencer. My parents still live there. Our community, I'm there 3-4 times a week. In the community there, the residents there are very involved in what occurs within that area. So we have been keeping a close eye on what was going to happen with the former Briggs Street YMCA. And at no time leading up to, except 3 days ago, did we find out that there would be supportive housing. As you can see, on August 4th, there was a patch article, and Katie LeClaire, it is highlighted on page 1 of the handout. She became the president and CEO of the Greater Joliet YMCA, and she had stated that a buyer, they're looking for a buyer here for the YMCA, which will bring the highest value to the YMCA so we can reinvest those funds into our community, and who is committed to serving the community, especially, and this is what's key here, especially the residents in the areas surrounding the Smith Family YMCA. That area, yes, needs daycare, needs after-school programs, needs summer camps, needs a Head Start program. At no point in time did we believe that there would be supportive housing. And if you turn to the back side of the first article of the patch, the Times Weekly interviewed Ms. Persy, and she did not want to give any details on the proposal that was provided to the board of the YMCA in the proposal to purchase the YMCA. The county was the second proposal, and the county fully disclosed. So then there is a Herald News article. The Herald News article is from September 28th of 2021, and it clearly says that Morningstar Mission wants to open a child care center at the former Joliet YMCA at Briggs Street. Nowhere again was there anything about supportive housing. I have highlighted key points within that article, and it says, Persy said Morningstar wanted to utilize the building to the best of our abilities, which her team, being Percy's team, determined was to offer affordable child care to the community, something it does not currently offer. That's the one component that's sorely lacking, is affordable daycare. Further down in the highlighted portions, it says, Persy said Morningstar is in talks with the state government to earn certification to offer child care services, and so it would be eligible to receive state funds. And the last highlight is that Morningstar and Ms. Persy would need to obtain a special use permit strictly for a facility for child care. Again, no information was given out publicly about the supportive housing. It was solely about childcare. Now, at the last minute, 2-3 days ago, there's a special use permit application for supportive housing as well. That's not fair. That's not fair. We pay attention on the south side because the Briggs Street YMCA is on the south side. And we feel that the wool is trying to be pulled over our eyes. This is deception by omission. So and Commissioner Rohr, you bring up a very good point. As a mother, you may have some hesitancy, extreme hesitancy, in dropping your child or children off at the former Briggs Street YMCA for daycare activities or summer camps or after school programs if there area being housed as a homeless shelter. So it's actually a terrible business plan. The child care, how I see it, the child care portion of this is going to fail. So what will happen to that facility? Will that facility solely be made into more and more supportive housing? What else is being planned for the remaining acreage? This sits on 26 acres. So will there be even more buildings built on Briggs Street, at the Briggs Street YMCA for supportive housing? I am not cold-hearted. I am not. But Briggs Street, Spencer Road, the south side of Joliet needs a little bit of tender loving care. And there are things going on there. The Joliet Housing Authority is looking into building a wonderful affordable housing subdivision similar to Liberty Meadows on Briggs and Route 6. Also, the Country Club Villas, that development that was stalled in 2008. There was land for sale. That land was purchased. Hopefully, the remainder of the Country Club Villas will be built out. That's on west of Briggs Street. On east side of Briggs Street, on Spencer Road, just a little east of the Girl Scouts. There is 15 plus acres of land for sale. It's zoned as ag right now. But the marketing materials that are presented, you can find it anywhere, is saying that the city of Joliet is agreeable to discussing a change in zoning to residential. And in those marketing materials, you have this 15 plus acres of land. There's a mock-up of a subdivision that could be built there. That 15 plus acres comes right behind the former Briggs Street YMCA. If this comes in, this could stunt everything that we're trying to get started there. More rooftops, more property tax revenue, greater density. We could get a real grocery store there. Wouldn't that be fantastic? And other potential retail. So, no, we had no information. Morningstar, Miss Percy, didn't approach anyone in the community, and we're not here in force today because we just found out about this. We thought it was going to be a youth center, daycare, summer camps, after-school activities. The former pool area also highlighted in the Joliet Herald News article. It said that Morningstar was not going to use the former pool area. Now, in the new proposal, it's going to be transformed into 10 supportive housing units. No. We are trying on the south side to bring up our quality of life, to bring economic development. We can't have this. We just can't. It'll stunt what we're trying to do. Thank you for your time. There are other people here. Have a nice afternoon.
Anyone else wishing to speak? And once again, try not to be repetitive of things that have been said. You swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law.
I do.
Name and address.
My name is Megan Cooper, and my address is 809 Diamond K Lane. I am here not as a resident of the east side of Joliet. I am here as a resident of the south side of Joliet. We have been very vocal when it comes to things that come into our community. And I echo everything that Ms. Seapon has said. I echo everything that you say. I'm a mother too. I have a 4-year-old son, and it is no way on God's green earth that I will drop my 4-year-old off and trust that somebody else will keep enough close eye on him to guarantee his safety when you have a daycare also combined with, you can call it what you want to, it's the elephant in the room, a homeless shelter. The two don't mix. It is what it is. And I don't know if you guys see it, but I'm calling it how it is. This is a bait and switch. This was not mentioned. We didn't even know anything about this. I spoke with multiple residents that are in our area, some within in the country club villas, that are also actually city of Joliet. Everyone is opposed. They weren't able to be here because, like we said, we just found out about the addition onto, as far as the homeless shelter, the supportive housing. I just found out yesterday. I was making phone calls. And everyone is opposed to it. They couldn't get off from work to actually be here, but I tell you what, and I would guarantee you this, we will show up in force for the city council meeting if it comes down to it. Now I want to tell you just a little bit of a story. So just the other day, there was a newspaper article in the Herald News where a woman in Shorewood was actually mugged for her purse, sustained injuries. When the police tracked the people down, guess what? They were homeless individuals who attacked her. We will spoil the city of Joliet for all police reports that are down around Morningstar Mission as of now. And I can guarantee you, the south side of Joliet doesn't have a homeless problem. This is something that we don't need. We do need a daycare, but a homeless shelter we don't need. You're gonna make it our problem, if you agree with that. And it wasn't approved on the west side. This would be demographic discrimination if you guys go for this. Joliet has enough. We're doing something. It's time for some other communities to take on some of this. Because like she said, this is not just for the surrounding community. This can go for anybody. Anybody that's provided by, through Trinity. This just is in our area. So I also spoke with one of the people that was on the board of determining who actually they were going to agree with to sell the actual Smith Club YMCA. And she personally told me that they wanted that property to go to someone who was going to come in and actually give back to the surrounding community to be able to do something positive because they weren't able to. Ms. Seapine mentioned that the county board, they laid everything out there on the table. Guess what? They voted against the county board. Could it have been possibly because they wanted to do something similar as far as a supportive housing? They laid theirs out there on the table. We're just not finding out about this now. Bait and switch. 26 acres. If they're doing things like this now and they're pulling this over your eyes, what else aren't they saying? What are they planning on doing with the remaining 26 acres of this? It's 10 people right now. How many more could it possibly be? My neighbor, Steve, not this summer, but last summer, him and his wife, he left his garage door open. And they were out on the back portion of the yard, had company over. And he was out there working. His wife asked him, said, come sit down with us, and talk. So she goes back into the house. And when she goes into the room, a guy jumps out of the closet, puts what they thought at the time was a gun to her head because it was a towel over it, and all they could see was a gun, was his supposed gun to her head. And he walks in and he tells the guy, wait a minute, I have nothing here. Take whatever you want, we don't have cash. The guy took the car. Later on, the Joliet PD ended up finding his car down by McDonald's on Cash Street. When they did their investigation, they said that they were pretty sure that the culprit was actually from Daybreak. So what type of area, what type of things, what are the unintended consequences of these decisions for the people that live in our area? You made a good point as far as transportation. We have no transportation out there. She's saying that, they would have to have their own transportation. Let's be honest, a lot of people that need this type of help don't have actual reliable transportation. There's no type of medical, there's no type of food services out there. There's nothing for them. And honestly, I feel like that would be unfair to the people that would actually be living there. What are they gonna do? Come out and play with our kids in our backyard because now I'm gonna be scared to let my son actually go out in the yard and play because I don't know what's gonna go on in our area? Or knock on our door for a Band-Aid? Or see if it's a doctor in the area because there's There's nothing there. There's not even a pharmacy. If you do this, this will kill the development in the area, and we are working hard. And I'm not gonna take up any more of your time, but I agree with what you said about the son. I'm a mother with your children. I agree with what you said about the transportation. The two don't mix. So what are the unintended consequences and what's really going on here? Because this right here is an elephant in the room. Things aren't being said right now, and other things might be done in the future. 26 acres. Thank you.
Anyone else? You swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law.
I do. Robert Smith, 1109 Spencer Road in Joliet, right around the corner from the YMCA. And not to repeat anything that Megan or Ms. Seapon just said, because they pretty much covered it all. I'll say as a 30-year resident in that area, I just don't see how these two mix. I'm all for the child daycare. I think we need more of that to get our youths up to not acting like we have the trouble with some of them these days, to give them the right path. I think the recipe for failure is this housing piece of it. As Bridget mentioned, how do you keep them two separate? You don't. It's not gonna happen. Even in that area, there is no transportation. They don't even have sidewalks there if one of them wanted to get out and walk somewhere. So it's not conducive to some type of living situation as they're presenting. I think it's a deterrent in that area for any developer to come in and build, because they're gonna sit back and wait and see what happens with that. And if there is a wrong incident or something goes south, that will definitely deter them from any kind of development or take a chance of building housing or that there. So I would very much like a vote of no on the housing piece of that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, I greet you with peace be with you. I would like to say that it's really ingenuous. It's not sincere to suggest that because a person is down on their luck at a point in their life, that there's some kind of pedophile or pervert or rapist or sexual predator. As far as as you said, you would be uncomfortable dropping your child off there, and you were asked about the parks and playgrounds. You said you'd be there to watch it. Every day, hundreds of children are at parks and playgrounds with no parents to watch them. What we have to do is realize, as I say, you talk about the crime, you can mention, sure, every group of people, I don't care what group you have, there's going to be a crime. Are you going to judge all the people in that situation because some of them commit a crime? There are hundreds of crimes committed in Joliet every day. How many of them committed by homeless people? This is what you have to look at. Don't try and put people who are down on their luck in a certain zone and say, oh, these people are bad. Because if you study the homeless people, you find the homeless people are some of the most generous amongst them, are some of the most generous people there are. Some of the most caring and concerned. You know why? Because they know what it's like. They understand. Again, people like you don't understand. You've never been in that situation. You don't know what it's like to go without a meal, to not have a roof over your head, to not have anywhere to sleep. You don't understand. So you can take this high and mighty attitude that, oh, they just troublemakers. You have to learn, as I said before, get in touch with your humanity. Forget about politics. Forget about politics. Get in touch with your humanity. Because your humanity is what God gave you. Politics is what man gave you. And what man gave you can be gone. But what God gave you is forever. Peace be with you.
Anyone else? You swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law.
I do. I'm a resident there. I live at 809 Diamond K Lane. I'm 72 years old, but I've had friends that was homeless, and I understand it. I had a neighbor sold their house this past summer for for $3,050-some thousand. I might want to sell mine. I'm looking at property value. Nothing against homeless people, but I've been a productive person all my days. So you have to look at that also. I'm not gonna go down the hill when I've worked all this time to come up the hill. So, and I respect homeless people. I give to them on the street. But I don't want my property value to drop. And I live on Diamond K where the young lady spoke, that was my daughter, where the homeless person supposedly came in their house. So that's a private road, no street lights or anything. So what are we looking for? Fear? I don't want to have to start carrying a gun at my own house, worried about, and you do have homeless people that's doing the crime. It's not productive people that's holding jobs. That's nothing to do with your way of life. If you're holding a job 9 times out of 10, you're not going to rob anyone. You don't wait till payday. So I'm just saying that. And I love homeless people. Thank you.
Anyone else? Chair is going to close petition to the floor. I ask the board for discussion and a motion.
I'd just like to add something. I think it would be appropriate to separate the special use permit for the daycare center, the after-school care center, and the summer day camp.
Want to vote on them separately?
I think so, because you make the final decision on the daycares and the camps and the after-school care, but you make a recommendation for the permanent supportive housing. So I think it would be a good idea to separate them both in two
You call
separate.
them in order then.
Yeah, so the first one would be for the special use permit to allow a daycare center, after-school care center, and summer daycare, summer day camp at 1350 South Briggs Street.
Motion would be in order.
Motion to deny.
I second it.
We have a motion second to deny that portion of the petition.
Ms. Rohr?
Sorry, that was thrown at us kind of quickly. I wish we would have known that from the beginning, that we were gonna be voting individually on it.
Sorry.
No, it's not your fault. I just, there's a lot of thoughts going through my head right now, so I'm just letting you know.
What's the
I'm
problem?
gonna motion, well, no, it's just, they were one thing and now they're different things. So, I just wanna, if we are voting for the approval of the daycare, and the daycare is guaranteed to be for the community, for the surrounding community, there's no requirements, it's a high risk, is that what is that because that was never answered, that question was never asked, because I didn't realize they were together. So is this for the whole entire community, anybody can bring their child in, or is this for referrals for, like other nonprofits that might be needing, people might need services, and is that only where it's coming from, or is this a community? Because I don't think that was ever made clear.
I'm I don't know if Sandy, if you could answer.
Yeah, it's
that.
for the entire community.
Okay, if it is for the entire community, then I vote aye.
Wait a minute.
Was there state funds that's gonna be added to that, paid for that community?
Only if the,
Sorry, thank you.
client cannot afford their own funds and they petition the state.
Just like
to be
any
reimbursed.
So
Which
it'll
is
be
exactly-
state funded also.
I'm sorry, Trinity Services is not just for the whole community. She even said it on her phone about something. I'm sorry.
So, the Y function like that as well, where, they would have funds for people that could not pay, like grants.
Right, if
Is this the same type of funding that you're speaking?
that is correct, so if the person or family can't afford daycare themselves, the state reimburses for the child's daycare. That would be the funding we would receive. Other than that, if, say, Jane brings her children there and she can pay for it herself, she pays for it herself. Does that answer your question?
It does answer my question. So, yeah, I wanna clarify don't want to take that vote
Okay.
back. Let's move back for a
Now, the
second.
motion is to
We have a
deny.
motion
To deny.
Yeah,
on the
he set me
table.
straight, thank you.
It's a motion to deny.
So the
Yeah.
motion to deny. Based on that, yeah, I'm gonna have to vote aye for motion to deny.
Okay. Mr. Alessio?
I also have some of the same concerns as Bridget about separating the two votes. My quick question before I do take a vote, the YMCA that was there, they didn't have a special use permit to already existing for public and private kindergartens and daycare centers? They don't have one already?
I don't believe we found that in any records.
Okay.
They've existed for so long, it was most likely prior to the establishment of that code.
Okay, and then thank you for that. And my motion is also to vote aye for denial, and the reason is because as this proposal's in front of me, I'm having difficulty separating the votes in my mind, and I think this entire plan is a bad plan, and I can't support it. So I'm gonna vote aye for denial.
Mr. McShane?
Aye for denial.
Mr. Nachtrieb?
I guess aye for denial because we've already got the votes for it.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye.
No, a separate vote for special use permit for the permanent supportive housing.
Motion to deny.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to deny that part of the petition. Pull the board.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Nachtrieb?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye.
So everyone knows, so the daycare center, the after-school care center, the summer daycare camp has been denied. That does not move on to city council. The request for the special use permit for supportive housing would go to city council, the second meeting in February, which I believe is February 15th.
Could that be repeated? What does not go forward to city council?
The special use request for daycare center, after-school care center, and summer day camp
Okay, does not go forward.
does not go forward. That was, yeah,
But the other one does.
yes. Supportive housing will go to city council February 15th, but you might want to check in and see if it stays on schedule. That would be the schedule, February 15th at city council.
Does that cover all portions of it now?
It does, I believe.
Okay, let's move on.
Next, order of business would be petition number 2022-04. The applicant is Sultan Cargo Incorporated, and San Sultanov is the petitioner. Status of the applicant is contract purchaser. The owner of the property is Southwest Development 2, Robert Wagner. Location is the southwest corner of Cherry Hill Road and Beatty Lane. The request is a special use permit. Under purpose, the petitioner is requesting a special use permit to allow a trucking facility with truck parking, office, and maintenance operations. As per the applicable zoning ordinance, section 4714-2AD, special uses, all industrial districts, carting, express, hauling establishments may be allowed as special uses by the mayor and city council with the advice of the zoning board of appeals in accordance with section 47-15.2. 47.5.2, Site-specific information. Subject area was annexed and classified to I-1 Light Industrial Zoning District in 2006. 4.7 acre site was part of Lot 2 in Beatty Lane, Phase 2 subdivision, which was recorded in 2009. This petition was filed on December 17th, 2021. Surrounding zoning, land use, and character, to the north is industrial I-1, to the south is industrial unincorporated Will County, to the east is industrial I-1 and unincorporated Will County, and to the west is industrial I-1. Under applicable regulations, section 47-17.14.2 AD, special uses, all industrial districts. Section 47-5.2C, criteria for issuance of special use permit, and you could see the attached petition for that criteria. Under discussion, the approval of the requested special use permit would allow a trucking facility with truck parking, office, and maintenance operations on Lot 1 in Beatty Lumber Light Industrial Subdivision. The proposed plan, you could see it attached, includes a 7,980 square foot precast building that includes 3 truck service bays and an additional truck loading dock. The office area will include a reception area, kitchenette, eating area, 2 showers, and 2 sleeping areas for the company's drivers. Site plan proposal can accommodate 10 vehicle parking spaces and 35 truck trailer parking spaces. 30-foot wide berms and landscaping will be installed along Cherry Hill Road and Beatty Lane to comply with the city landscape ordinance. 2 curb cuts off Beatty Lane will be installed. All public improvements will be required by the Public Works and Utilities Department, the city zoning ordinance, and the city subdivision regulations. Utilities are available within Beatty Lane. Sewer and water connection fees and developer impact fees will be required. Payment in lieu of taxes, the pilot fee will also be required as per the terms of the approved ordinance. Funds collected from the pilot will be utilized for adjacent city street maintenance. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to approve the special use permit, the following conditions would be included. 1, that the truck and trailer parking area shall be required to make a payment in lieu of taxes as per the terms of the ordinance. 2, that a landscape plan shall be submitted as part of the building permit plan set that meets city ordinance. And 3, should the property be declared a public nuisance, shall be subject to rehearing and a possible revocation of the special use permit. And that concludes our staff report.
Petitioner present. Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Name and address.
Steve Hussey, 22520 North Pebble Lake Court, Frankfort, Illinois. I'm with Strata Contractors, and we are the general contractor for Salt and Cargo. This is effectively about an 8,000 square foot owner-operator maintenance facility for their own fleet. The plan is that their own trucks will be maintained so that the fleet can remain operational. There will be no third-party servicing or sales or anything like that. We feel that this is a very complementary infill development to this area with what's already existing there. We've taken into consideration traffic flow on Cherry Hill, and we made sure that the ingress-egress for the trucks would be on Beatty, not impeding Cherry Hill at all. So our hope is that the Joliet Planning and Zoning Committees and City Council would see this as an improvement to the area, which would really complete this sector south of the railroad tracks and north of Muriel Court there. And if you have any questions, we also have the leasing agent who's representing the buyer, Les Robinson of Baird Warner, and Jeff Boulin, who is the architect for the structural shop, also representing the buyer.
Any questions? Comments from anyone on the board? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Chair closes petition on the floor and asks the board for discussion and a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Poll the board.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Nachtrieb?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye.
That will go to City Council February 15th with the zoning board's recommendation for approval. Petition number 2022-05. The applicant is Mary Klaus from Parvin Klaus Sign Company. The owner is Centerpoint Properties. The location is 3501 South Brandon Road. Request is a variation. The purpose, the applicant is requesting a variation to allow a wall sign that exceeds 100 square feet located at 3501 South Brandon Road. ZBA makes the final decision for this variation request. Under site-specific information, the subject property is located within the Centerpoint Intermodal Center along Brandon Road. Walmart operates a warehouse and distribution center at this location. The property is 72.5 acres and is zoned ITC Intermodal Terminal Industrial Park. Surrounding zoning, land use, and character: to the north is ITC Intermodal Terminal Industrial Park, and the use is industrial. To the south is the same. To the east is unincorporated Will County agricultural land. To the west is the IT zoning district with industrial use. Applicable regulations: 47-14A 9.2 wall-mounted signs, intermodal terminal district, and 47-17.213BB criteria for granting a sign variation, and you can refer to an attachment on that. Under discussion, Parvin Klaus Sign Company, acting on behalf of Walmart, requests a variance on wall signage to install wall signage that is 157 square feet in size. The Joliet zoning ordinance limits wall signage in the intermodal terminal district to 100 square feet in size. The signage, site plan, and sign elevations for the proposed wall signage are included as part of the application packet. The applicant's rationale for this request is that the building signage, smaller than the requested size, would prevent reasonable building identification to patrons due to buildings setback from the road and overall size. And under conditions, we have none, and that concludes our staff report.
Commissioner Hare? Swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law.
I do.
Name and address.
Lisa Stazak, 165 Tubeway Drive in Carroll Stream. And the staff report was exactly what it is. So if you look at the site plan and just view where the building is in comparison to Brandon, it's set back quite a ways. There's obviously a ton of truck traffic in this intermodal area. So with Walmart trying to stay within their branding and that, a sign of the 157 square feet just makes sense on that building with how large it is and just the setback, just so that these trucks can see the sign clearly and know where they're going.
Any questions by the board? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor? Anyone opposed? Chair closes the petition to the floor and asks the board for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Pull the board.
Mr. Noctree?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
That vote is final with the zoning board's approval vote. Petition number 2022-06, the applicant is Arnaldo Chavez. The owner is Maria Chavez. The location is 251 East Jackson Street. The request is a variation of use and variations. Under purpose, the petitioner is requesting a variation of use to allow a B1 neighborhood business use in an R2 single-family residential zoning district in a series of variations, including 1, front yard building setback on a corner lot from 20 feet to 10 feet. 2, a rear yard building setback from 25 feet to 18.2 feet to the center of the alley. 3, off-street parking requirements from 17 to 15, and that's 1 for every 200 square feet. 4, a rear yard landscape area adjacent to residential from 15 feet to 10 feet wide. 5, that a side yard landscape area adjacent to residential from 15 feet to 6 feet. And 6, front yard landscape area adjacent to street from 10 feet to 5 feet. Zoning Board of Appeals has final approval of the variation requests, but will only make a recommendation to the City Council on the variation of use request. Under site-specific information, based on available Joliet Polk directories, the site in question once contained 3 separate residential properties at 251, 253, and 255 East Jackson Street, and these were all demolished. The 96.67 by 132 or 12,760 square foot site in question is located at the northeast corner of East Jackson and Franklin Streets and has been entirely vacant since the early 2000s. This petition was filed on December 17th, 2021. Under surrounding zoning, land use, and character, to the north is residential, R2 single-family residential. To the east is residential, R3, 1 and 2 family residential. To the south is residential, R2 single-family residential, and R4 multifamily residential. And to the west is church, B3 general business. Under applicable regulations, section 47-6.1, R2 permitted principal uses. Section 47-6.8, R2 prohibited uses. Section 47-17.28, variation of use. Section 47-19.8, findings of fact supporting a variation, and you would refer to the attachment. There is also a definition of what a variation of use is, 47-17.28. Under discussion, the petitioner is proposing a 3-unit commercial building on an existing residentially zoned property. To make this possible, a variation of use to allow a commercial use in a residentially zoned area and a series of variations from the zoning ordinance need to be requested. The proposal includes a 3-tenant masonry building with parking for 15 vehicles, and you could see the attached plans. Access into the parking lot is proposed from Franklin Street only. Landscaping and screening of adjacent residential properties will be required as per city ordinance. The property has a long history of residential use. The site is undersized and cannot be developed as commercial without a series of variations being approved. The blocks starting east of Franklin Street all contain residential uses until you meet the Collins Street corridor. There are no hardships to develop this site single-family residential as the underlying zoning permits. Due to there being no hardship to develop this site as the R2 zoning district allows and the surrounding properties being existing residential, planning staff does not support this request. Should be known that non-support of this request by staff was provided to the petitioner during initial discussions and before submittal of application. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to recommend approval of this variation of use request, a series of variations, the following conditions should be included. One, that a landscape plan be submitted with the building permit plans that meet city ordinance. And two, that the building meets the city's non-residential design guidelines. And that, you know, like the Morningstar mission case, I think it'd probably be a good idea to separate two votes on this one for the variations and one for the variation of use request. And with that, that concludes our staff report.
Petitioner present?
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Sorry about that.
Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Name and address.
Arnaldo Chavez, 24441 South Mormon Avenue, Chanahan.
Any comments you'd like to make, sir?
If what I got to say, if we allowed to do this construction work there, would be something nice for the community. Be a real nice building there, and would, you know, would have a lot to look nice at the area and bring tax revenue and, you know, probably more businesses to the area, and would, instead of being an empty lot, would be a nice looking building at the area. We bought the property probably 15, 17 years ago with the intention to build something one day, and I think we're ready to do something. If we get allowed, to do something, we'd be appreciated very well, very much.
Thank you. Any questions by the board? Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor? Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
Name and address.
Bob Gable, United Architects, 1002 Plainfield Road in Joliet. And just wanted to mention, we were working with the owner to try to fit a building in there of reasonable size and get as much parking in there as possible to make it practical. The owner, he didn't mention, but he's got somebody already interested in at least one or two of the units. So it's not like it's gonna be empty or so for time being. So that's all.
Do you have any idea what the possible
Yeah, the one
enterprises?
person that's interested is a hair salonist person. And I think he mentioned maybe a phone company also, like AT&T or a mobile phone place.
Did the owner consider putting residents on these lots?
Not when he came to us. I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor? Anyone opposed? Chair closes the petition to the floor. Ask the board for discussion and a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Nachtrieb?
No.
Mr. Hennessy?
No.
Motion carried, 4-2.
That was not separated votes, though, I don't think, like we
Okay,
originally discussed.
the board wish to reconsider the vote?
Why don't we take the variation of use to allow the commercial use there in the residential zoning district, first at 251 East Jackson Street.
Okay, call the vote.
I think a motion.
Motion to approve the variation to allow B1 business in the R2 zoning district.
Second.
We have motion to second, hold the board.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Nachtrieb?
No.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
No.
And now the variation for the setbacks, to allow the construction of the commercial building in that residential zone at 251 East Jackson Street.
Hold the board.
Somebody needs to make a motion.
Motion to approve the series of variations.
We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve, hold the board.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Nachtrieb?
No.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
No.
So those both pass 4-2.
Yeah.
So the series of variations are approved, and the variation of use will continue to City Council February 15th for final action with the zoning board's recommendation for approval. Moving on through the agenda, we tabled 2022-07. I don't know if anybody came in late for that one on the Northeast Frontage Road. That was tabled early in our discussion. Moving on to item number 7, old new business, not for final action or recommendation. We have none. Under 8, public comments. This section is for anyone wanting to speak regarding non-agenda items and are allowed a maximum of 4 minutes. It's not a question and answer period, and staff in the Zoning Board of Appeals does not generally respond to public comments. Please note, speakers who engage in conduct injurious to the harmony of the Zoning Board of Appeals shall be called to order by the presiding officer and may forfeit the opportunity to speak. Is there anybody that would like to speak on non-agenda items? Seeing none, the next order of business would be an adjournment.
Motion to adjourn would be in order.
So move.
Second.
We have motion to second, hold the board.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Nachtrieb?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.